Wakey, wakey, you British clowns. Now you know what actual world class looks like. Yeah? You guys all seen what world class boxing looks like? These British clowns. Jesus Christ. You see the difference in quality now between Conor Benn, yeah, versus Chris van der Heerden and the real champions, aka Errol Spence, aka the truth. Let me just start off by saying, man, Errol Spence. Do you know what? I've defended Errol Spence so many times, People have said he's a ducker. People have said he's avoiding Crawford. I've never believed he's avoided Terence Crawford. I've never believed that he's scared of Terence Crawford. I don't think he's scared of anybody. I think he knows Crawford's a good fight. I think he knows Crawford's a 50-50 fight. But I don't think he's scared of anybody. I said I've always thought it's been problems between Al Heyman and Bob Arum. Yeah, Top Rank and PBC. And look, I mean, if you look at Terence Crawford's tweet right now, congratulations to Errol Spence. Now the real fight happens. No more talk, no more side of the street. Let's go. So it looks like I said, we could get this fight. Errol Spence looked absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. He made a few mistakes. I've always actually kind of gone towards Spence to beat Crawford. I'm one of the few people who, in the past, if you ask me, Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, I've kind of always leaned towards Errol Spence. I think he's a humongous puncher once he gets up on the inside and once he closes distance. And we'll talk about the good bits and the bad bits of Errol Spence. Yordenis Ugas lost this fight tonight with his footwork. We'll talk about that as well. Yordenis Ugas lost this fight tonight with his footwork. He actually had the ability. Obviously, he hurt Errol Spence badly in that sixth round. Didn't capitalize it. Didn't step in on it. And it cost him. But there's Crawford. It was weird. I thought Spence, nobody can question him. For me, the guys he's fought, coming off injuries, no tune-ups, nothing. I'm sorry, Errol Spence is one of the very, very best fighters in the world. But honestly, we'll talk about it in a second. If he fights that way against Terence Crawford, the way he fought tonight, I think he's going to hit the canvas. He might get up and win it on points. But I'm pretty sure if he fights like that against Yordenis Ugas, he will hit the floor. But let me just start off by saying Errol Spence here, coming off a car crash in which he nearly died, and then coming off a detached retina. That was a fantastic performance from Spence. Looked absolutely brutal in there. And it started with the jab, didn't it? Let's just start off with this. We started off with the jab. Yeah, 14 people in the chat. Please hit the like button. I don't know how many people will get in here, but we'll see how it goes. 16 people. Hit the like button. We'll talk about Crawford. Let me just quickly talk about the fight with Ugas. And then once all these British clowns wake up here at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, we'll talk about Conor Benn. Can I just say, yeah, it's a fucking disgrace. Those people on the zone saying that this man is elite. Yeah. Eddie Hearn and those people who allowed that kind of talk. Conor Benn's an elite level fighter. I hope you British clowns stayed up here tonight, yeah? 4:30 in the morning to watch real world-class boxing and to watch real world-class opponents standing toe-to-toe. Not 37-year-old dudes who've had one fight in 3 years, fall over as soon as they get hit with a good shot. Real shots, yeah? Real fighters. But we'll get onto these British clowns in a minute. Like I said, been saying, this country's a joke. This country's an absolute joke. But we'll get onto it in a sec, yeah? Let's talk about Yordenis Ugas and how he lost this fight. Yordenis Ugas lost this fight on his feet. Very, very simple. He had quite a bit of success in this fight. Errol Spence's big weakness, and it's been his big weakness since I've been watching him since he was a prospect, is Errol Spence misjudges the distance and he falls in short with the right hand. And he's there to be timed with right hands. Now, the thing is, Ugas didn't adjust his feet. When Spence was leaning, and Rory got it straight away, Spence leans over his front foot. That's Spence's biggest mistake, and that's what's going to cost him when he fights Terence Crawford, in my opinion. Because the little things that he does, Spence, yeah, when he throws, you see tonight, and I thought Derek James in the corner, and by the way, Bump of K, I thought Spence was outstanding. Again, we're just being picky here. Does that make sense? We're being picky because Errol Spence is probably about to get in the ring with a guy who may go down as one of the greatest fighters to ever live. Errol Spence may go down as one of the greatest welterweights to ever live, right? But Terence Crawford's probably going to go down as one of the greatest fighters to ever live. So When we're being critical of Errol Spence's technique now, we're not hating on Spence. Spence is phenomenal. I've always thought Spence will beat Crawford, but tonight I see something, and I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to lean towards Crawford. Now, Errol Spence on that left hand, he falls in short with the left hook. You see him leading with the left hook, you see him leading in with the overhand left, and he keeps falling in short, right? And the big mistake that the difference in this fight was that Ugas didn't have he was very, very flat-footed. He wasn't able to just adjust that feet, make Errol Spence fall short and time him enough with that right hand. Errol Spence was there for the right hand continuously tonight. He was there for that right hand. And I just felt Ugas didn't adjust the feet. I think Al Bernstein picked it up on the Showtime commentary. He said Ugas was staying in too close. For me, like I said before, when Ugas was getting touched up with the jab, because Spence was walking him down behind that jab. And again, Errol Spence is one of these fighters who is outstanding at setting up shots. Again, all you British clowns, yeah, who worship and idolize Conor Benn, walking in behind looping left hooks and looping overhand rights without setting them up, right? You need to go watch fighters like Errol Spence. You look at Errol Spence with that touch jab. Look what Errol Spence did tonight. He walked Ugas down behind a touch jab. Touch, brought his feet in, took his head off the line, overhand left. Took his head off the line, left hook. Took his head off the line, right hook. That's how you do it. And I thought Derek James was superb in the corner. Let me just say that. Derek James was superb in the corner. Derek James was telling him, keep off the center. And if you look at Spence, right? If you look at Spence, to be fair, his head was off the center line. His head was off the center line tonight against Ugas. He was walking in behind the jab, but if you look at the angles and if you look at where his head was finishing, if you look at where Spence's head was finishing off the shots, that's the key. His head wasn't falling down the center. Now, one thing I will say is Errol Spence, his head was falling down into the right hand a lot, and that's why he was getting caught with a couple of uppercuts. And he got hit with a shot tonight that absolutely nearly got him out of there. Now, he walked himself into some kind of right hand, right uppercut tonight. And he got hurt. His gum shield got knocked out. He looked a little bit unsteady on his feet. He then made the mistake, didn't he, of going to the referee and expecting the referee to then go and break up the fight. And then Ugas stepped in and hit him with another straight right. And his legs were all over the place at that minute. And that was Ugas's moment to step in, throw another overhand right, and try and get Spence on the floor, get him out of it. He looked badly hurt. I can't remember the last time I've seen Errol Spence that badly hurt. And he's been rocked a few times. Particularly as a prospect. And for some bizarre reason, that was Ugas's moment, and he lost that moment. That was the moment to just go for it, do or die. And he should have followed it up with a jab overhand right on Errol Spence, and he failed to do it, and he let Spence get right back into the fight. But the one thing I will say about Spence is, right, let me get this clear. I thought his head, the way his head was finishing either side of the target off the shots. So he'd go jab, right? And then whether he'd throw the overhand left hook or whether he'd throw the right hook, right? He was making sure that his head and his body position was always finishing off the center line, whether it was to the left or to the right. The one thing I will say about Errol Spence is he likes to fall over to that right-hand side to set up his overhand left hook. And he keeps walking himself into right-handed shots. And the thing is, right, in this fight, the reason why I like Derek James kept telling him, be careful with that left hook, because you see how Spence was throwing that left hook, and occasionally Ugas would occasionally adjust his feet, make him fall short, or occasionally Ugas would roll underneath it and then come back with the right hand. Occasionally, not enough in my opinion. Derek James was spotting those things in the corner, and Derek James was telling him, look, throw it mid-level, throw it body, throw it to the body. Lead off of that left hook to the body, basically. Lead off of that left hook to the chest. He told him, don't throw it high, because when you throw it high, he's going to roll it and throw the right hand counter, if that makes sense. So, what can I say? It was one of them performances where, first and foremost, I thought it was an outstanding performance from Errol Spence to come back from what he's come back from, take an opponent like that, and he beat him up. No question about it. Ugas lost that fight on the jab. When Spence is touching you with the touch jab, touch, you gotta adjust your feet. You've got to adjust the feet, because with Spence, you know what's coming. He's going to go touch, and then he's going to go left hook to the body, left uppercut to the body, or overhand left. It's going to be one of them three shots. He's going to go touch. He's going to bring his feet in, and he's going to throw some variation of the left hand. He needs to adjust those feet, and he didn't do it. Crawford's going to do that 100% in that fight. Crawford's a completely different fighter. Crawford fights very, very long. Very, very long, very, very side on. He's going to hold that jab hand out of there. He's going to disrupt Errol Spence's jab, and he's not going to let Errol Spence throw a touch, just adjust his feet, and he's going to be there for him to hit with an overhand left uppercut, left hook variation. What Spence will do is he will adjust the distance, and so Crawford is going to adjust the distance. He's going to make Spence fall in shot, and then he's going to turn a right hand over on him. I can see that coming a mile off, where he's going to throw the left uppercut, which is ironically, if you look at Terence Crawford, that's what he was doing against Sean Porter in their fight as well. In fact, that might have been the punch that he got Sean Porter out of there with, or hurt Sean Porter with. I think Sean Porter might have fallen short off a right hand. Crawford might have made him fall short, come up with an uppercut of some sort, and that might have begun the process that got him out. Am I right? Is that the shot that done Sean Porter when they fought? I watched that fight live, but I think it actually might have been that, where Porter might have actually led him with the right hand, and then Terence Crawford might have adjusted the distance, took a step back, and set him up for a right uppercut, nailed him, knocked him down, and that might have been the beginning of the end for Porter. That's exactly the kind of shot, right, that Errol Spence is going to walk into if he fights in exactly the same way against Crawford. I can tell you that right now. But let me just say this now. When we're talking about elite level boxing, we're talking about real elite level boxing, not fucking bullshit. This Conor Benn versus Chris Van der Heerden bullshit. So when we talk about elite level fighters, we get critical. I'm not saying Spence isn't. I thought Spence's performance was absolutely fantastic. Answered a lot of critics. He's got people out there believing he can beat Crawford. It's ironic. I've always believed he will beat Crawford, to be honest. I've always believed that it will be a bit too much for Crawford. But for me, the key is, can he work his way into the inside of Crawford, and can he get himself into range without being hit? If he can do that, I believe he'll beat Crawford. Simple as that. But the difference with Crawford is Spence didn't adjust. Ugas did not adjust his feet tonight, and he lost that fight on the jab. When the double jab comes, touch, you got to adjust them feet. Don't hold your feet. Every time Spence touched him with that double jab, touch, Ugas didn't adjust his feet. He held his feet and he waited for Spence to walk into range because he wanted to counter him. But you can't let Errol Spence walk into range because the artillery is way too heavy. And to be fair to Spence, and I will say one thing, like I said before, even though his head fell over to Ugas's right-hand side too many times, in my opinion, his head, to be honest, Derek James was teaching him, obviously teaching him to rotate with the shots, take your head off the line of them shots, and not let your head fall down the center line, okay, which is good. But for me, like I said, his head was falling into Ugas's right hand a few too many times. He's going to have to correct and adjust that, a little bit more if he gets in the ring against Crawford, because if he falls into that right-hand side, he's going to walk himself into an uppercut or something like that, and he's going to hit the floor, in my opinion. I think Spence can beat Crawford. I do think he's probably going to have to pick himself up off the canvas to do it, though. What he might get Crawford on his volume, because at the end of the day, and this is what we said in the Conor Benn fight when the crowd's talking about, oh, you don't know if Conor Benn's elite level yet. You got to see him step up. Oh my God! One thing we were saying is, you see what I said in the show earlier on today. I said, if you look at these elite welterweights, there's a lot of volume. And if you look at the volume Spence threw tonight, if you just look at the volume Spence was throwing in there tonight. I mean, and these were brutal shots he was throwing up on the inside, changing angles, angling around, leading off with the right hook, sometimes doubling up with the right hook, touch jab, overhand right uppercut, right hook, left uppercut, left hook, left to the body. I mean, the volume in these fights, you have to understand the level of athletes that these guys are. They're completely different fights, They're completely different fights to the British bollocks that we're seeing over here on DAZN, where we're getting 40-year-old dudes, off the farm from South Africa, and then flying them over in a Del Monte box, for Conor Benn to knock over, and then we're sitting here talking about Conor Benn's Elite. The work rate alone is just completely fucking different. And I saw that as well, Joe. I agree. James said, okay, back to the jab as soon as Spence won respect. Yeah, the key is, like I said before, the difference between Ugas and Crawford is when Spence throws that double jab and tries to bring his feet into range to set up them left hands and right hooks to the body, Crawford's going to be out of there, and that's the difference. And the problem is, what you're going to see is a fight where Spence is going to be reaching in a lot. And you see that if you look at the early couple of rounds between these two, you'll see Spence reaching in a lot with that right hand, falling over on the front foot, leading in with the right hook, missing, hitting fresh air. And let me tell you one thing that Ugas missed out on tonight, like I said before. What I wanted to see from Ugas, particularly in the earlier rounds, I thought there were quite a few countering opportunities there that he's missed out on there. Because like I said before, the way Spence was falling into Ugas's right hand, when Spence goes for that left hook, when Spence was throwing, particularly when Spence was throwing the left hook to the body, one shot I was looking for to see Ugas fire, when Spence was throwing that left hook to the body, catch it on the left elbow, throw the right hook. Catch it on the left elbow, throw the right uppercut. That's the first combination that I didn't really see Ugas throw a lot, because you can see Spence was throwing a lot of left hooks to the body. He was throwing a lot of left hooks to the body. I mean, I spar at the absolute bargain bucket level. Like, listen, I'm a guy that, because I spar in the Sunday League football of boxing, yeah. But even I can do that, like at the absolute lowest levels. Sometimes if someone's throwing big hooks to your body, catch it on the elbow and then counter with a hand. Catch it on the elbow, counter with the hand. Well, Spence was coming in up close, and he was always looking, yeah, for that left uppercut, left hook to the body. And the way Spence was falling over to Ugas's right-hand side, I was just looking for Ugas to catch that shot on the elbow, turn the right hand over. Catch that shot on the elbow, return fire with the uppercut. Because you see when Ugas did that kind of stuff, you see when Ugas timed it with that uppercut, he was having a lot of success with that, to the body and to the head. And Ugas did have success in his fight. And you see it in that fight, Ugas. Where did the success from Ugas come from? It came from right-hand counter shots, didn't it? It came from right-hand counter shots. It came from early on in the fight when Spence led in and lunged in and fell short with that lead left hand. Roll it. He rolled underneath it, made him miss, came back up with a right uppercut to the body. Yeah, rolled underneath Spence's left hook, pinged him with an uppercut to the head. That kind of thing. The other thing he didn't throw was the straight right hand. How many straight right hands did you see Yordenis Ugas throw? I saw him throw 2 straight right hands in the entire fight. That's been Spence's kryptonite when he was a prospect. That was Errol Spence's kryptonite when he was a prospect. That was the shot that I was thinking Kell Brook might hurt him and get him out of there with, actually. Was the straight right hand. He's been on for that straight right hand. He's been pinged around and buzzed with that straight right hand, even as a prospect, Errol Spence. Straight right hand. Straight right hand, actually, traditionally, was always the shot that we spoke about is that his weakness. And I didn't see Ugas throw 1 straight right hand tonight. Now, like I said before, all the credit in the world to Errol Spence, because Errol Spence was doing a very, very good job of double jabbing. And then when he was getting into the inside, just angling around and finishing around one side of the body, left-hand side or right-hand side. Yeah. So, finishing around one side of the body. Not doing what we do in this country, finishing with our head down the center line. But nevertheless, yeah, I saw Ugas throw a couple of two straight rights. I like to see him throw a few more straight rights, in my opinion, because that's the one shot that going into the fight. Errol Spence has been hit with in the past. He's been hurt with in the past. When he walks in that straight line off that double jab comes in, timing with that right hand, But these are the things that Crawford's going to do when they fight. Ugas wasn't able to do those things tonight. I can tell you now, Crawford will do those things. Touch, touch, touch. Crawford's going to adjust the feet, throw the straight right hand. Touch, touch, touch. Crawford's going to take a step back, make him fall short with the left hand. He's going to throw the right uppercut. Touch, touch, touch. These kind of things. Left hooks as well from Ugas as well. He was never able to stop the jab. With Spence, you've got to cut down that jab. If he's able to jab his way into distance, and this will be the same for Crawford. If Spence can jab his way into Crawford and get work off, he'll beat Crawford. In my opinion, he will beat Crawford if he can do that. It's all about, can Crawford catch him before he comes in? Can Crawford catch him, hurt him, stun him before he gets in there? But you've got to be able to adjust your feet or stop that jab. And for me, like I said, with Ugas, wasn't able to adjust his feet and bring himself out of range. Wasn't able to jab over Spence's jab either. We didn't see that much from Ugas either. You see Spence touch, touch, touch. Wasn't able to jab over Spence's jab. Wasn't able to left hook around Spence's jab. Wasn't able to convince Spence to put the jab away. You've got to kind of convince Spence to put that jab away, really, in my opinion. And there's ways to do it. Jab over the jab, left hook around the jab, make him miss, adjust your feet. But you've got to try and find a way to do that. But I think Crawford has the tools to beat this dude. But he's the only one I can think of at that weight who has the tools to beat this dude. I thought that was a fantastic performance from Spence. Ugas' moment was when Spence made that rookie error. He walked himself. I think he walked himself into a right uppercut. It was a right-handed shot. It was a right uppercut he threw. And again, go and watch the replay. Spence fell on that right. And that's the one criticism of Errol Spence tonight. When he was letting his head finish either side of Ugas, he was letting his head primarily finish, primarily finish on his own left-hand side because he wants to set up the overhand left. But unfortunately, that was Ugas' right hand. And he let his head fall into Ugas' right hand. Ugas nailed him with an uppercut, knocked his gum shield out. He thought the referee was going to stop it. Ugas then clocked him with a massive follow-up right hand, right on the chin, had him staggered. And for Lord knows what reason, Ugas backed off him completely. And I have no idea what he did that. And when he watches that back, I mean, I've never seen Errol Spence that hurt in my life. And I've seen a whole bunch of Errol Spence fight. I've never seen Errol Spence that hurt. He was hurt. And Ugas, that was the one moment to pounce on him. Jab, overhand right. But listen, Spence recovered about 10 seconds later, and he's a dog. And like I said before, I mean, let me just make this clear, and then we'll get onto your comments. I will go through all your comments. Those people who argued with me, 10 o'clock UK time. So what are we in American time? 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. Those fucking clowns, yeah, who want to argue with me about Conor Benn being an elite fighter. Give me a break, you absolute clowns. You absolute clowns after watching that performance. Justifying Eddie Hearn saying that fucking Conor Benn's elite level. And then you just got and sat and watched it. Look at the punishment that Ugas took. Look at the punishment that Ugas took 10 rounds of hell from Errol Spence. All over the shop. Eye completely busted up. Couldn't see out of his right eye. Look at the punishment, man. We're not flying over, yeah, South African corpses. DHL. That's what we're doing in this country. In America right now, you got to give them credit because they're making these big fights, aren't they? They're making these big fights, innit? We're not flying over, yeah, old South Africans, yeah, via DHL. Via DHL. With all due respect to Chris van der Heerden, he's a very tough guy. But we're flying over old South African dudes via DHL. FedExing over, yeah, 37-year-old South Africans who've had one fight in 3 years. Putting them in the ring with Conor Benn. These guys are falling over after one shot. And then we're saying, oh my God, Conor Benn's elite level. Oh, ultra, he might really be at that level. Do you know how fucking embarrassing it is to this country? Stop embarrassing this country, man. I've got too much respect for this country. Stop embarrassing this country, man. You know what's going to happen in 6 months' time. You know what's going to happen in 12 months' time. Oh, it's only a learning fight. Oh, Conor Benn's still learning on the job. Let me get on to Dougie Fisher very, very quickly. Actually, let me. I'll do that in a minute. Let me go through your comments. Dougie Fisher. Let me tell you about these jokers. Do you know why I turn around and say, yeah, that, you know, if you haven't really been in the ring and taken a shot, yeah, and I don't mean even have a fight. If you haven't been in the ring and sparring and taken a shot, you really shouldn't be talking too much about boxing. That's my belief. Look at this guy, Dougie Fisher. Bro, this guy, Dougie Fisher, yeah, is like the lead writer or one of the lead writers for Ring Magazine. Right? This guy's one of the lead guys for Ring Magazine. Let me show you the tweet of Dougie Fisher comparing Conor Benn to Mike Tyson. I actually have to get the tweet for you guys to fucking believe this stuff, man. Hold on one sec. I'll get it up on the screen right now, if I can find it. Unless Twitter have done me in and deleted it. Let me see if I can get it right now. Hold on. Here we go. Look. I'm not even joking. This guy writes for Ring Magazine, bro. This guy writes for Ring Magazine. He compared Conor Benn to Mike Tyson. I'm not even joking. Laugh at me if you will, but I saw shades of Iron Mike tonight. This dude's talking about Conor Benn. I'm not even joking. This dude's saying he saw shades of Iron Mike. This is Douglas Fisher, who writes for Ring Magazine. He goes, me too. Not prime Tyson, but not shot Tyson. Either, not prime Tyson, but not shot Tyson either. Ben reminded me of the slower, more plodding, but still dangerous 90s version of Mike Tyson. If you haven't taken a shot, stop talking about boxing. I'm serious. This is why I don't listen to people who haven't put a gum shield in. Haven't put a gum shield in, I don't even want to hear it anymore. If you have not taken a shot, yeah, with 16-ounce gloves or less, stop talking about boxing because you don't know what you're talking about. This dude writes for Ring Magazine. He's saying that Conor Benn reminds him of a 90s version of Mike Tyson. This guy's out here deciding who's the Ring Magazine pound for pound and shit. Can you believe this stuff? These guys are telling you who, these are the same guys who are telling you, oh, Errol Spence, Crawford stuck in Errol Spence. Have I got this right? Didn't Ring Magazine make Terence Crawford #1 at welterweight after he beat Sean Porter? I said at the time, do you know how stupid that is? Ring Magazine. They made Terence Crawford the #1 in the division after he beat Sean Porter. Do you know how fucking stupid they look tonight? Do you know how fucking stupid they look tonight? Listen, Terence Crawford may beat Errol Spence, but Errol Spence is clearly the #1 in the division, in my opinion, based on who he's beat and the manner in the manner of who he's beat. And there's no big gap in skill set between these two where you can say, look, Crawford, despite the fact that Crawford hasn't beaten X, Y, and Z, you can just see Crawford's on a different level skills-wise. It's nothing like that. They're almost neck and neck, man. They're almost neck and neck. Crawford's got a lot of flaws too in his game, which we've been pointing out time and time again. Crawford's got a lot of flaws in his game. I thought Sean Porter took a lot of rounds off Terence Crawford when they fought until Crawford turned it around in the middle to late rounds. So these guys, man, this is what I'm talking about. This guy writes for Ring Magazine, and he can't tell the difference between a 90s version of Mike Tyson and Conor Benn. And these guys are the quote-unquote experts on boxing. I don't want to hear it, man. If you haven't put a gum shield in or you haven't put 16-ounce gloves on, seriously now, I'm just switching these guys off, yeah, for a week. I don't want to hear it for a week. I'm not even listening to it. It's nonsense, man. Put a gum shield on, get punched in the face, then start writing for Ring Magazine. If you haven't taken a shot with 16-ounce gloves on, yeah, you've got no right to write about boxing in no damn magazine. I don't care what anybody says. I know I'll get heat for saying that, but that's just my opinion. If you've never taken a shot with a gum shield on, sorry, but you don't need to be a journalist on boxing. We don't need to hear anything you have to say. Start taking shots in the ring, yeah? And then you start knowing the difference between Conor Benn and Mike Tyson. What a bunch of absolute clowns. What a bunch of absolute clowns. So let's get on to some stuff about Ugas. What did you guys think about Ugas in round 6? He blew it, man. He absolutely blew it, didn't he? I didn't listen to the post-fight interview because I came straight on here to do this show. But what did Ugas say in the post-fight? Does he realize that he blew it? Because if he was ever going to win that fight, that was the round. Looking back on that, I know he was hurt. I mean, it's easy for me to say sitting here, yeah? I know he was hurt. He was hurt bad because Spence absolutely worked him over with them shots. And Ugas was in survival mode from round 5, round 6 onwards. I mean, the body shots were starting to get there. It was the overhand lefts, though, from Errol Spence as well that were really doing the damage. And obviously, that's why Ugas' right eye, I think it was his right eye, that was completely shut. Was it his right eye that was completely shut? Let me know. I think it was his right eye that was completely shut. It's them overhand rights. Unbelievable. Yeah. Let me see if we can get Spence calling out Bud. This is good. Let me see if we can get a transcript of that. Because I thought all these dudes have been telling you that Errol Spence was scared. What were these dudes saying? Weren't these dudes saying that Errol Spence ran out of the arena or something? When Crawford stopped Porter. Isn't that what these dudes were saying on Twitter and stuff? They were saying when Errol Spence saw Porter get stopped, he ran out of the arena because he was scared. Now, the reason why he walked out of the arena was he was fuming at Kenny Porter for stopping the fight because Sean Porter was in the fight. That's why. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. That's the reason why Errol Spence got out of the arena. He went out of the arena because he was fuming at Kenny Porter for stopping the fight in which Sean Porter was in the fight. Simple as that. Simple as that. Nothing to do with being scared, man. All this nonsense. Are you scared? None of these guys. Crawford ain't scared of Spence, and Spence ain't scared of Crawford. It never has been. It's always been politics, man. And stuff's got in the way, like car crashes and detached retinas. Richard from Twitter says that Errol Spence said, "Everyone knows who I want next. I want Crawford next. I'm gonna go and take his shit next." It's on. Simple. Joe's. This is the Errol Spence quote on Crawford. You know what I want. I want Crawford. You know what time it is. Strap Caesar, man down. I'm gonna come and steal Crawford shit next. Well, it's on. It's on. I think Crawford signed him a PBC, so it's gonna happen, isn't it? It's gonna happen. Can you believe it? The one fight, one of Errol Spence's best performances, and this is the one time that I switch and think, man, maybe Crawford will get him. We'll have to see. I'm 50-50 over it. That fight is a genuine 50-50. It's going to come down to on the night. If Errol Spence can be more careful with the positioning of his head and not falling short, he's got a really good chance because I don't believe Terence Crawford can stand up to that on the inside. And it's the volume and it's the constant pressure that Errol Spence puts on, but it's the volume. I mean, he was just sitting there battering around the target for a solid 9 rounds. Solid 9-10 rounds of vicious shots, man. Vicious shots, not just rangefinders, but he was putting in vicious shots. I mean, like I said before, for me, what was impressive, it was the volume from Spence, it was the power from Spence, it was the adjustments that he was making. You know, he looked better on his feet tonight than Yordenis Ugas, to be honest. You know, if you look at the two who was bouncing in and out of range, it was Errol Spence to me. Was the one who was actually bouncing in and out of range. I mean, to me, like I said, Errol Spence coming in, double jab, setting up his left-handed shots to the head and the body, and then he was hopping out of range and using head movement to avoid punches from Ugas on the way out. Spence looked better in pretty much every department, but like I said, in boxing, as I say, styles make fights. And unfortunately for Spence, he has got a style where I think he'll have to get off the floor to win against Crawford. That's my prediction in that fight. I'll lean towards Crawford but I think Spence can definitely beat him. But I do think Spence is going to have to pick himself up off the floor if he fights Crawford. Because Crawford, he's a slow starter. But then you know what Crawford's like? Rounds 3 to 3, them rounds, after round 3, 4, Crawford really starts picking it up. He's got excellent timing. He's extremely fast. And I tell you one thing about Spence. If Crawford ever hurts Spence the way Ugas hurt him, you know what's going to happen. There is no way on this planet that Crawford would ever do what Yordenis Ugas did in round 6, hurt or not hurt. If Terence Crawford gets a man hurt, he's arguably the best finisher in boxing. I think we know that, yeah? I mean, Terence Crawford is arguably the best finisher in boxing. Right up there with Anthony Yard. Now, seriously, Crawford is one of the best finishers in boxing. And when he gets you hurt, he's absolutely brutal. So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. Refugio Garcia says, "Great card from Uncle Al." I didn't even watch the undercard. I woke up literally just in time, yeah, for Spence and Crawford. Let's have a quick look at the internet here. Where my British clowns at today? Where my British clowns at with the Conor Benn talk? Because you was all up in here, you was all up in here 10 p.m. at night telling me that Conor Benn's the real deal because he beat Chris van der Heerden. I hope you understand what real deal boxing is next. Oh, here we go. Michael Benson's at it with his blue borders again. Look at this clown Benson. This clown Benson's at it with his shitty blue borders again. Does the same shit every day, doesn't he, this clown? It's embarrassing, isn't it? He needs to go out and get himself a fucking woman. 4:30 in the morning, he's up, yeah? And he always does the same thing. Google a photo of Errol. See, this is how Michael Benson works. If you want to create an account like Michael Benson, yeah? I will show you exactly how Michael Benson works. He does this. He goes into Google and he types in Errol Spence belts. And then he takes a photo. And then he goes, Terence Crawford belts. And then he gets this photo. And then he puts a shitty blue border around it. What an idiot. Look, with his little shitty blue borders. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford for the undisputed title was the only fight that needs to happen next. Oh yeah, Michael. I'm sure now that you've said that announced that on your Twitter page, I'm sure Uncle Al Heyman's going to take note of you, mate. You absolute fucking clown. Beanpole Benson. Beanpole Benson, aka Mr. Matcham, with his blue borders again. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a look here. So what do you think? Do you think Crawford and Spence is happening next? I don't think it's coincidence that Spencer's called him out. I think there's probably some kind of deal that's been done. You probably hear that fight announced relatively soon. To me, I think there's a reason why Spence called him out. And I think that's because he's been told that fight's going to happen next. Great fight. And you know what? Listen, they're doing that fight now at the best time. Spencer's come back off his layoff. He's looked $1 million tonight against a very, very good opponent in Ugas. And Terence Crawford obviously looked very, very good in spurts against Sean Porter. So this is really is now the right time to make the fight and for them to make a lot of money. And Yordenis Ugas is a warrior, by the way. Let me just make that clear about Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas is an absolute warrior. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about? If anybody wants to make any comments or talk about anything in particular, now will be the time. We haven't got many people here today, but obviously it's not prime time in the UK. We've still got around 40 people here. If you can please hit the like button, let me know. Crazy D3 says, call me crazy, but I think Keith may spoil the party. Look, I only saw highlights, but Keith Thurman looked real good, man, in his comeback fight. I only saw little bits and bobs, but Keith Thurman looked good in that comeback fight. So I need to have a proper look at Keith Thurman. I'm not quite sure he's. I'm not quite sure he needs a few more. He needs a few more. And I don't like him versus Crawford, to be honest. I don't like Thurman and Crawford. I think Crawford beats him. I've never seen anything from Keith Thurman recently that makes me think he beats Crawford, to be honest. I look at the styles and the way that goes. I don't really fancy that one. Sharon's asking me about Ortiz Ruiz. Oh God, I've got a feeling Ortiz might win that fight, but Ortiz looked gone in his fight against Martin, didn't he? You'd think that once Andy Ruiz lands, that's the end of it. But where is Andy Ruiz's head at the minute? I've got a funny feeling Ortiz might do something in that fight. I've got a funny feeling. I actually believe Ortiz's legs are gone. But I honestly believe that Charles Martin being a southpaw fucked him over. Honestly, like people think I'm talking clap. Like I said before, I'm telling this as a left-hander. Left-handers don't see left-handers very often. So when they do see left-handers, it's really awkward. I'm telling you, it's so awkward. I hate fighting left-handers. I'm really, really bad at fighting left-handers because all my strategies and techniques and everything that I do is primarily around fighting right-handed fighters. So when I get in with a left-handed fighter, it's not the same. And people can talk about sparring all they want, but sparring and fighting are two completely different sports. Sparring and fighting. They're two completely different sports. It's like talking about the difference between amateur boxing, yeah, and professional boxing. It's like two completely different sports. So I do think Charles Martin being a southpaw, yeah, threw Ortiz off because Ortiz likes to do certain things, doesn't he? And I don't think he was able to quite do them, but we'll see. But I've got a funny feeling Ortiz might get it done. But really, Ruiz should get him out of there. He's got no legs, and Ruiz is a bigger puncher than Charles Martin. So in theory, once Ruiz lands, that should be the end of the fight. But I've got a funny feeling Ortiz might do something there. Joe says Ruiz just won't go away. Well, like I said before, I hope he saved all that money that he made from cashing out against Anthony Joshua. I'm sure he's doing very, very well for himself. Never a good sign, yeah, in the hunger department, when a man becomes the unified heavyweight champion of the world, and the next minute, yeah, he ends up on fucking what chat show was he on? Andy Ruiz ending up on the Maury show or something, full of gold chains all around his neck. That was really the beginning of the end, wasn't it? When he ended up on the Maury show with gold chains around his neck. Everything was silver and gold. Looks like he had fucking $10 million on his neck. That's when you kind of knew it was the end in it for Andy Ruiz. Let's go through some of these comments now. Errol Spence, here we go. Everybody knows who I want next. Terence Crawford next. That's the fight I want next. That's the fight everybody wants. I'm coming for that motherfucking belt. Crawford wins. You can see this idiot's always doing polls because, you know, he doesn't want to go outside and go to the job center and get a job. So 19, 20 years old, he sits on Michael Benson's page all day, you know, doing shitty polls because, like I said before, these people have got nothing better to do. Labour voters in action. For those of you who are in the UK, Labour voters in action. If you want to know where the Labour Party gets most of their votes, get most of their votes from dudes on Twitter. Spend all day on Twitter doing shitty polls on Spence versus Crawford instead of looking for a job. These will be the same dudes that don't want to turn the heating on. These will be the same dudes complaining about inflation and fucking heating costs. I guarantee you. These are the same dudes that'll be voting Labour, talking about the cost of living is too high. They're spending all their time instead of making money doing shitty polls on Twitter. It is what it is. But this poll is 51%, 49 to Spence, which is kind of funny because, you know, these Muppets have spent the last 6 months saying that Errol Spence is afraid of Terence Crawford and he's ducking it. See how fickle these boxing fans are? They're so fickle, isn't it? I could have sworn like most boxing fans on Twitter were saying that Errol Spence is ducking Crawford and he's got no chance of winning. Now all of a sudden, yeah, the tide's turning. You've seen people now start to give Spence a chance. These are clueless, man. That's just my opinion on that. It is what it is. Crawford beats Spence. We'll see. Yeah, I think stylistically, it's good for Crawford, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. What do you guys think? Who are you guys going for? I don't think anybody in chats actually said who they're going for. It's a 50-50 for me. If Spence can get up off the canvas, he might get this fight on points, you know, if he can get up off the canvas, in my opinion. I mean, he is a tremendous puncher, Errol Spence. People need to understand, he is a tremendous puncher. If he can make a few adjustments, he can definitely beat Crawford. Because I don't think Crawford's ever faced the artillery in a professional ring like what he will face when he gets in the ring with Spence. And if Spence can find a way to get that jab off and bring his feet into range, it's bad news for Crawford in that fight. Real bad news for Crawford. But my gut says that Crawford's going to catch him. Is going to walk him onto a shot, and I think that'll be the difference. I think that's what my gut says. My gut says Crawford's going to walk him onto something big, and I think that's what will tell the story in the fight. So I'll probably lean towards Crawford. But to be honest, I'd like to see Spence win that fight. I think Spence is a warrior, and he's fought a lot of good fighters. You know, like I said before, I'm not really a resume man. I don't care about a resume, but this guy's fought Kell Brook, Yordenis Ugas, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. What other names has he fought? There's more names I've forgotten. Well, won his belt abroad. You know, came to the UK, won his belt away from home. For me, Spence really is, man. People need to start putting respect on these guys' names, man. He really is the guy. Right, let's just finish up with a little bit on everybody's favourite UK boxer, Conor Benn, and then we're going to call it a day. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Sorry, there was something I was going to say. By the way, if you want to follow me on Twitter at the minute, I've got a nice poll going. Who wins in their primes? Conor Benn versus Tommy Hearns. We've got some casuals voting in a minute on this poll. At the minute, Tommy Hearns is the favourite to beat Conor Benn, and they're both in their primes. A lot of casuals that are voting on this poll. Obviously, everybody knows Conor Benn would beat a prime Tommy Hearns. Shevin says that Errol talked about finally getting a nutritionist. Are you fucking kidding me? All this time, he's never had a nutritionist. How was he making 147 before? Because the guy was killing himself to get to 147 on the scales. But I have to say, the volume tonight looks superb. We've seen Spence in some fights look a bit sluggish, fall off a bit. I mean, this guy ghosts himself to make the weight. But man, the volume looked tremendous. I mean, the volume looked tremendous tonight. So if he's finally got all them fights he fought, he never had a nutritionist. Are you serious? Well, he was fighting them guys like Danny Garcia and these guys. And Sean Porter. Sean Porter, one of the most high output fighters in all of boxing. And he stepped to the ring and did 12 with a prime Sean Porter. And he didn't even have a nutritionist. Okay. Man, that's barely believable. Unbelievable. He said he was sitting in a sauna with bags on to make weight. Oh my God. Well, I can believe that. He looked dead. He looked dead on the scales. He looked dead on the scales. Sitting in a sauna with bags on to make weight. He said it in the ring after the fight. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Spence weighed in at 146 comfortably compared to his usual slaving away to make 147. I mean, if you look at him for the Kell Brook fight, he looked dead. Period. He looked dead. Let me get that picture. That's one of my favorite pictures, man. Look. He looked dead. Absolutely dead. Mind you, then again, look at Crawford. Look at Brook. I think Brook's the one who's really looking dead. Spence looked drained to me on these scales, but if you look at Crawford, if you look at Brook, I mean, Brook's a guy. I mean, how's Brook? Look at Brook. How is he making 145? Look at the 147. Look at the state of him. Look at Spence there, though. Jesus, Spence looks gaunt, man. Look at him. Jesus Christ. Spence looks like he's been in a concentration camp. The state of these two dudes. And these dudes went in and hammered each other, yeah, for 10 straight rounds. But apparently, this isn't elite level boxing. Apparently, that's not elite level boxing. Apparently, according to Eddie Hearn, this now is elite level boxing. Where my British clowns at? Wakey. Get the alarm on. Where my British clowns at? Where my British clowns at? You guys who think this is elite level boxing, yeah? You guys who letting Eddie Hearn pick up the microphone on DAZN and tell you that this man is elite level and a global superstar. Elite level. You're letting these dudes tell you this guy's elite level and a global superstar. That's what this country's turned into, man. Oh my God. This dude's feasted on chefs and South African goat herders. No disrespect. But this guy's feasted on chefs and South African goat herders. But you let this dude, yeah, with this white sweater and a bunch of hair plugs step in the ring with his straight face and tell you that Conor Benn is an elite level fighter. Do you know what? Let me say this now. Let me tell you, they lucky Addy's working for DAZN, because if Addy wasn't working for DAZN and they turned around to Addy and said, yo, we think Conor Benn's an elite level fighter, Addy would have told them, man, are you crazy? He would have told him, man, are you absolutely crazy? Absolutely crazy. Joe's saying Spence said, yeah, he said no junk food. Oh my God. Is he for real? Do you know what? Let me tell you. If Errol Spence really was fighting all them fights, yeah, with no nutritionist, maybe he's got more of a chance in his Crawford fight. And maybe he is if he was turning up for all them fights and he was doing 12 with Porter, and this guy claims he's eating junk food and had no nutritionist. But you know what? Like I said before, he's a dog, you know. He is an absolute dog. I'm not a fan of that kind of sparring, but let me tell you one thing. These dudes are battle tested, and that's the difference between what we've seen tonight with Spence and Ugas and this. These dudes are battle tested. It's like you see them tonight. It's a give and take. Spence got hurt badly in that 6th round, and 30 seconds later he was back on it, and he was back on it, beating up the opponent. I mean, he softened up. Maybe he just hurt Ugas so much, yeah. It's particularly with the body shots. Maybe he'd hurt Ugas with the body shots so much in the run up to that round. Maybe that was why Ugas just didn't really have nothing left to pull the trigger. Yeah, no, we do like Errol Spence likes to drink. Yeah, absolutely. We know Errol Spence likes to drink. We've seen him. He's always pissed up, at turning up to fights, pissed out of his head. Yeah, we know that. Spence sparring the Charlos in them. Like I said before, battle tested. Like I said, I think there's a time and place for that kind of sparring. You guys know I kind of favor the Ingle method of doing things. In America, they really like to beat their brains to a pulp. You know, they like to finish in America. They like to finish their careers with a lisp, yeah, and barely been able to get the words out. They like to finish their careers with a slur. Do you know what I mean? They like to finish their career with a slur, spinal damage, and massive loss of brain cells. But like I said before, they are absolutely battle tested. And in closing, that's why, yeah, I've been slagging people off who say Conor Benn's elite level, because unfortunately for Conor Benn, and I'm not being a hater, you see how Spence took that big shot from Ugas, his legs were all over the place, and he recovered literally in the next 30 seconds. He recovered and was back on the front foot. Fortunately for Conor Benn, yeah, as you saw in the Paynow fight, when he gets hit with that same kind of shot, he ain't going to recover in the same way, unfortunately. And that's going to be the difference. He ain't going to recover in the same way, you see, because the dude hasn't been battle tested. Dude hasn't been through the fire. He hasn't been through the fire, really, since he got in the ring with a fucking kickboxer and got dropped 3 times. And like I said before, Conor Benn would batter me. I wouldn't say any of this to Conor Benn's face. He's a warrior. He's crushing it in the gym. All of that stuff plus 10, right? I'm not denying that. But all I'm saying is this: when he gets in the ring and he gets chin checked, yeah, against the top level heavyweight, he's not going to know what to do. And mark my words on him, yeah. You see how they're saying how he's learning in the ring and these are learning fights. You know, he's not really learning, because you see what he's doing. He's walking in, hyped up in these fights. Yeah, he's walking himself onto shots and he's throwing bombs, right? And like I said before, you can do that, yeah, against Chris Van der Heerden, who's had 1 fight in 3 years. But unfortunately for you, you can't do that, yeah, once you get in the ring with the real big boys who can give one, take one, and come back. And unfortunately, I think he'll get dragged into deep waters. And you know, I question what's going on in that gym with Tony Sims. A lot of loading up on shots is going on in that gym with Tony Sims. But unfortunately, once he gets in with somebody and they put in a jab in his face, or they constantly doubling up, tripling up the jab, and he's having to walk himself into jab over jab, and they're adjusting their feet and making him fall short, yeah, and these kind of things. Or when he gets buzzed and hurt, when he gets in a position where he can't just walk fighters down and start throwing those big bombs, he's going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I'm telling you, there ain't going to be much fundamentals to fall back on. So we'll have to wait and see. Right, 45 in the chat. We'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button. I stayed up to watch the fight. Everybody in Britain take note of what real elite level boxing is. All right, real elite level boxing is. Yeah, let me say this. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I did hear Carl Froch. Carl Froch tells the truth, because Carl Froch fought at elite level. Carl Froch wasn't one of these British WBO champions who fought can after can after can in their own backyard. So Carl Froch knows. Carl Froch, you can't pull the wool over Carl Froch's eyes. You can't pull the wool over Carl Froch's eyes, man. He knows what's going on there. He knows what's going on. And he knows that Conor Benn needs to fight David Avanesian. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see. Who are we going to get for Conor Benn next? Are we going to get Spence, Crawford, Ugas, Porter? Or are we going to get Phil Greco? What's it going to be? I think it's going to be Phil Greco. But we'll have to wait and see who this big step. Oh, no, sorry. My bad. It's Mikey Garcia is who they're saying. My bad. Let me close on that. If anybody wants to know who they're apparently lining up for Conor Benn, it's Mikey Garcia. Sorry, forgot. I already read that on Twitter a couple of hours ago. It's Mikey lost to Sandor Martin Garcia is apparently one of the names that they're looking to throw into the Conor Benn meat wagon. Just lost to Sandor Martin in Spain. And they want to send him up to fight Conor Benn. Very, very good matchmaking, in my opinion. Joe says it will be Gamboa. It could be Gamboa, you know. It could be Gamboa. What do you think in closing? What do you think about Mikey Garcia and Conor Benn? I didn't even see Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. But he was never the same again after he fought Errol Spence. Mikey Garcia was never the same fighter after he fought Errol Spence. Never. He was never the same fighter after he fought Errol Spence, because unfortunately, when you're, I don't know this for sure, but I can imagine when you're an elite level fighter like Mikey Garcia, when he fought Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia was like pound for pound 5 in the world, wasn't he? He was like pound for pound top 5. Like if Mikey Garcia beat Spence, I think he was going to be number 1. Or there's talk like he could be number 1 or something if he beat Spence, right? So, and the beating he took to be an elite level fighter and to take a beating, and he took a beating, Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia took a beating from round 1 to round 12. He was never in any part of that fight. I didn't have him winning a single fucking round. He was never, ever, ever in that fight at any stage. He took an absolute beating. And when you take a beating like that, as an elite fighter, it must be very, very hard to take. It must be very, very hard to take and to come back from mentally. Just because, you know, like I said before, you've been so used to being elite. You've been so used to dominating fighters. You've been so used to always having an answer. And he just had no answer for Errol Spence. And not only that, Errol Spence outboxed him as well. So bad fight for Mikey Garcia. He was ruined by that fight. And that was a shame. There was no reason for him to take that fight, but he saw something on tape, or he saw something on footage, or he saw something in Errol Spence's fights that made him think he could beat Errol Spence. And he put his money where his mouth was. You got to give him credit. Maybe it was Spence falling in short, you know, because Mikey Garcia's footwork is exceptional. His footwork and his judgment of distance is exceptional. I'm not sure if he can handle Conor Benn's artillery. I need to go back and see that Sandor Martin fight. I think maybe Conor Benn at this stage of his career, I think, again, listen, one thing I will say about Matchroom is the matchmaking is being extremely clever. I will tell you that now. The matchmaking has been extremely clever. Extremely clever. Yeah, it wasn't just a 10 million though. It's a 10 million, yeah, but you're getting beaten up in there. I think he genuinely thought he was going to win the fight. Genuinely, I think he's seen something in Errol. He thinks he can win the fight, and he put his money where his mouth was. Simple as that. And it probably was the feet. I think his footwork is so good, Mikey Garcia. He's very good at making fighters fall short. He's very good at adjusting the distance, and he's very subtle at moving in and moving out of range. He probably saw Spence falling in off that right hand, falling in off that left hand, and thought, you know what, I can make him miss and hit the gaps. And he couldn't do it, and he took a beating. But I'll tell you someone who can do that, Terence Crawford, in my opinion. Terence Crawford can definitely do that. We'll have to wait and see. Your dad's hairy ass says, Ultra, the journalists are going after this UFC fighter tonight. After he mentioned Kinahan, they're all on Twitter raging. Of course, because these guys always need to have something to rage at. And let me ask a genuine question about Daniel Kinahan. Richard from Twitter can answer this because he knows all about the Kinahan stuff. Why now? Why do people care now? Like, just think of the concept of it, right? Now, as soon as the US government or the US authorities sanction Kinahan, now everybody's going after Kinahan. But you knew what Kinahan was way before the US authorities sanctioned him, right? It's not like any of this is a surprise, is it? It's not like we've just found out that Daniel Kinahan has links to gangsters and has links to criminal activities, right? That's not the first time we've known this. I don't understand why everybody's getting it. It's so stupid. You think of the concept of it, it's dumb. The US authorities have said, we're going to sanction Kinahan, 5 million for his arrest or whatever it is, right? Or whatever it is. And now everybody's now acting like they've just found out that Daniel Kinahan's linked to criminal activity. Daniel Kinahan's been Daniel Kinahan for a very, very long time. So why is it now everybody's getting on Kinahan's back and wants to cancel Kinahan? Where was that same energy 2 years ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Just use your fucking brain. Why now? Why now? Why on the 10th of April, 2022, is everybody suddenly remembering that Daniel Kinahan has links to criminal organizations? It's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. We've known about Daniel Kinahan for ages. Is Daniel Kinahan the only man in boxing who has links to criminal organizations? Are you fucking man? Eddie Hearn's walking around pretending to be a fucking gangster half the time, isn't he? Acting like he's some kind of Essex boy. I'm sure he's got links to a few people because he sure as hell can't fight. So he's going to need to have links to people. We've had, Don King, as I said before on the previous show, Don King was a pimp. Don King murdered somebody. Don King fucking killed a man with his bare hands. Am I lying or not lying? Did Don King not kill a man with his bare hands? Yes or no? Did Don King not beat a man to death and do time in prison? Right. Who's out here cancelling Don King? Don King out here winning purse bids for Trevor Bryan versus Daniel Dubois and sending over dodgy contracts. That's the reason, by the way, why that fight hasn't been announced yet, because the initial contract here that Don King sent over was a pile of horsemen. Apparently, I shall be getting in contact with my Queensbury contacts about that Don King contract this week to find out about that. What's going on with that fight? Yeah, no cap, right? Did Don King not beat a man to death in the street for owing him money with his bare hands? Yes or no? But these same dudes lapped up and sucked up Don King's cum bubbles for the best part of 10 years. 10 years, 20 years, these guys have been blowing Don King cum bubbles up in the sky, innit? Been blowing Don King cum bubbles. Now all of a sudden, Daniel Kinahan's a problem. What you didn't know? You didn't know the guys that run boxing are fucking full of gangsters. You didn't know gangsters have been involved in boxing. You didn't know boxing was dirty. You didn't know boxing's got loads of fixed fights. You didn't know fighters are getting paid to stay down. You didn't know the mafia was involved in boxing. But I thought these dudes were gangsters. That's what surprised me. It's like all these dudes on Twitter acting like they're gangsters. Send me your address. Come and fight me. Let's have a spar. Let's film it on YouTube. All this shit. I thought you were fucking gangsters. It's funny, innit? I thought you were big time gangsters. But you don't seem to know that you're a gangster, but you don't seem to know that boxing is being infiltrated by gangsters since its inception. And you're surprised that Daniel Kinahan has links with criminal activities. It's just bizarre, isn't it? Go outside, yeah, open the front door, get some fresh air. It's going to be 20 degrees today, isn't it? It's going to be 20 degrees. Get some fresh air, go outside. Don't worry about Daniel Kinahan, man. Jason Walker's just woken up. I hope that time meal was good, Jason Walker. Was it good? I thought Spence was outstanding. Spence looked... It's so funny, Jason Walker. Now people are changing their opinion. They're now thinking that Spence is a genuine chance against Crawford. Which, you know, I've always said Errol Spence, Crawford's a pretty much a 50-50. And I've been one of the few places to say, you know, I can really see Spence getting in that fight. I'm leaning towards Crawford, but I've been one of the people saying, Spence is ducking Crawford. Spence has got no chance. He don't want it. And by the way, after the fight, Jason, Spence called out Crawford. And it looks like the fight's going to happen next. Spence said, I want Crawford next. So that's that. Simple as that. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, Joe, I agree. It's grassing, isn't it? A lot of it is grassing. I mean, look, people can have their opinion on it. I'm not saying people can't have their opinion, yeah? People are willing to can have their opinion on Kinahan. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. I'm just giving my opinion. But when people start going out of their way on Twitter and they're dragging up this guy, do you know what I've seen this week on Twitter? I've seen people going on Company's House and looking at Anthony Joshua, because Anthony Joshua once was involved or doing deals with a company called MTK Properties, which I've seen that before. Anthony Joshua was involved with a company called MTK Properties, and we all know Anthony Joshua sunk a few million into real estate and such. And now people are fucking dragging shit up from 2 years ago. Shit we've already seen from years ago. Seen those same screenshots of Anthony Joshua Company's House having dealings with MTK Properties before. People are now digging up shit from fucking 2, 3, 4 years ago that was already in the public eye, that we've already discussed on Twitter a while ago, talking about, oh, did you know that Anthony Joshua's got links to Daniel Kinahan? And the next minute, these same dudes are fucking circulating photos of Daniel Kinahan meeting Eddie Hearn or Daniel Kinahan meeting Frank Warren. Just ratting, innit? Just ratting. I thought you was gangsters, though. You guys need to make up your minds. What are you? Are you tough guys or are you snitches? Because I'm not a gangster. I'm not a gangster. I'm not from the street. But one thing we do know is if you're from the street, then you keep your mouth shut, innit? Am I right or am I wrong about that, innit? If you're from the street, you keep your mouth shut, innit? I'm not from the streets. I'm not a gangster. I'm not a tough guy. I can't fight, yeah? But one thing I do know is, right? Isn't it true if you're from the streets, you keep your mouth shut, right? Real street guys keep their mouth shut. Real street guys don't go on Twitter snitching about Daniel Kinahan. Snitching about Daniel Kinahan and shit, putting up his business, putting up Company's House, putting up screenshots and trying to implicate people and shit. So you need to make up your mind, innit? Are you a gangster or are you not a gangster? Because from all I can see, Twitter is a bunch of snitches. That's all from what I can see. It's a bunch of snitches, man. And we all know that loose lips sink ships. Peace out.